Ladies and gentlemen,
Hey, kia ora koutou whānau, welcome back to Big Hairy News, or Bright Hairy News, because it's Friday.
Hell yeah.
What's up, Magenta? What's up?
The sky? Sorry. I couldn't resist that one. Yeah, no, it's been pretty good. Pretty decent week. It's obviously been a lot to keep an eye on, but how about you?
Busy. Very tired.
Your
very
hair.
tired. I did. I got my hair done. It is partially done. It's still got a bit to go, but yes, finally got the roots sorted.
Yeah, getting the roots did. I get it. So an extra bright hairy news.
Extra bright, and if you can't see my eyebrows, then it looks natural. See no one. Did you have a good Matariki Friday?
Yeah, I mean, mostly just been doodling away, doing the meme PDF, going through my different links and all that fun stuff that I generally leave till Friday. And also, since we're doing the new show now, I was like, I might as well do stuff for tomorrow. So, just
lump it all
lots
in.
of news, yeah.
Yes,
anything, you guys doing anything this weekend?
My husband-to-be is off on his bachelor do.
Oh, cute.
It's very... He's a nerd and the rest of them are a bunch of nerds. So they're playing board games, going rock climbing, playing some disc golf and hanging out. So...
Cute.
Very cute. It's pretty tame.
Awesome.
But no, he's been looking forward to it, and it's the second last week of the school's term, so he is looking forward to not doing that for 2 weeks.
And I guess he has a nice long weekend for his...
He does have a nice long weekend, so he's got he's got Sunday to chill out with me. Well, I'm here doing all the hard work. I was building stuff today and doing all the shopping. No, it's been fun.
Are you going to have a hens do?
No, I had we called it a hems do because we were hemming my dress. So it's it was very chill. It's just kind of the people, yeah. We just chill.
I love that.
Do
whatever makes you happy, eh?
Exactly. You know what makes me really happy?
What? What's that?
The news.
I feel like you're lying to me, but...
Yeah, no, I'm definitely not excited about the news. There's a lot of shit going on, man. Last Friday, I think I very briefly mentioned that there was some stuff going on. There were threats that Iran was going to retaliate against Israel, and that has been the news the entire week. It has happened. There is a lot of irony in the stories that are coming out. Poor Israel getting the hospital bombed, but apparently Palestine and Palestinians, it doesn't matter. So, again, white people versus brown people,
Right.
Yeah. So that was fun. The LA, the No Kings protest, which was fantastic. Yeah. We had the LA riots, which I really appreciate Hassan, who, as much as people really don't like him, Hassan Piker, he talks the talk, but he also walks the walk. Like, he is on the front line with the protesters and streaming it. And it's some really interesting footage of the protests against the ice raids, but also I think it was all... Well, I don't know. That was at the front. I think it was the front line of the ice raids protests, but it also kind of coincided with the No Kings protest.
Yes.
So, yeah, bullets flying and
lot
all
going
sorts of
on.
things. So, yeah, America's got a lot going on. The world's got a lot going on.
Right?
And New Zealand's got a lot going on. So,
Just don't stop coming, and it don't stop coming, and it don't stop coming.
but at least you have us at BHN 5 nights a week. And even more than just 5 nights a week. Recently, we had a fantastic
Yeah.
regulatory standards bill chat yesterday.
Mhm.
It was got Craig Rennie and his Locked Out podcast. All sorts of things happening. So we'll keep you
Triple header.
well informed for sure.
It's too much. We now have to have 3 shows a day.
3 shows a day. All day, every day. I mean, Ryan Bridges is out there
TV channels.
spitting out like 10 videos a day. So he's cottoned
yeah.
on to the BHN formula, which is quite funny. Yeah, so plenty to talk about in the world. Anyways, hi chat. How are we doing? Hope you had a good Matariki Friday. Hope you're going to have a fantastic weekend. And I hope we can brighten up the beginning of your weekend with some bright, hairy news.
Yeah.
Before we jump into that, though, quick thank you I'll go the other way. Big thank you to our patrons who support our show and make sure that we can be here with you 5 nights a week. If you want to sign up to Patreon, go to patreon.com/BigHairyNews if you'd like to support us for as little as $5 a month. Where's Pat?
Hey.
There's Pat.
Look at him.
Where did mine? Where's the thing?
That's a different angle. It's a behind the scenes angle, guys.
Is. Well, there's usually a thing and it's disappeared. I think it's this one. There we go. That's what I was looking for. As little as $5 a month, all the way up to $250 a month, with the most popular being $15 a month, which you don't have to do, but if you'd like to support us, it is one way that you can do so. Super chats are also amazing, and watching the show live and watching all of our clips are also amazing. So thank you to everyone who supports us in whichever way you decide to support. Another way you can do so is the BHN store. If you'd like some merchandise, you can get Chewie Foos, famous Nikki No Boats, some buffer gear, the Pat and Chewie, which I'm always rocking. This is like my go-to now. I live on this thing. It's just comfortable.
I mean, absolutely.
How could you not? We got Fuck Around, Find Out. We are the Grassroots. Tax work, less tax wealth, more, and stickers as well. So if you're interested, jump on. The deal at the moment is quite a good one. Pat's been very good to you. I believe it's until today or the end of the weekend. I can't remember what Pat said.
End of the show, I remember him saying.
End of tonight's show or last night's show?
I believe. No, yeah, tonight's show.
So use discount code Matariki at the checkout and you get a free BHN tee with any hoodie purchased.
I mean, that's a really good deal.
It's a bloody good deal.
Buy a hoodie, get a whole t-shirt free.
Yeah, he's been very kind to you guys. If you're wanting to get some merchandise, those are some of the ways that you can support us.
Hell yeah!
Right, our first story of the night. I'm gonna get my legs all crossed and ready.
Oof!
Cuddle in, strap in, cuddle in.
Gotta get real, folks.
Like even Luna's popped her head up to say hi.
Oh shit!
Our first one is a little bit, it's a bit of a light one. I've tried to make it as light as possible. I've taken a light angle on this week's government scrutiny week, where the government gets posed a bunch of questions by the opposition, and they have to answer. Well, they get asked questions, they don't answer, they just, I don't know what they do.
They just go around in fucking circles. And
they retort.
Word vomit.
Word vomit, lie, feign ignorance, push it on to another minister. Yeah, so that's fun. But Kieran in the bush, which is just a combination. I don't know if I've told you, but I have a theory, right? I think I was talking to someone on Discord about it last week. I have a theory, and this interaction kind of adds evidence to my theory, right? There is a photo. Obviously, the two of them were on breakfast every other morning, doing their little bromance back and forth. Kieran doing jabs, but it was very jovial, even though they both didn't. It was very friendly and jovial, which is quite different to what you get when you see Chloe and Brooklyn Velden or Chloe and David Seymour. And I feel so bad for her having to sit in a room with either of those two. It's quite a different vibe. And I have seen photos of Kieran and the Bish, it's a wee while ago, being co-leaders, can you believe, of the Parliament cricket team. So there's obviously like a relationship there that's kind of a bit of a rivalry. That kind of makes sense. There's a lot of, Chris Bishop does give the vibe that he wants to have like that bipartisanship, even though I think his party is kind of, I don't know, got its own mind. And Kieran also has that idea of like he's able to work with the other side and like he's reasonable and things like that. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because there was a transport and infrastructure committee question and answer time where Kieran's on the opposition side asking the questions, and Chris Bishop is the transport and infrastructure minister, I believe, is giving answers. But unlike what we saw with giving answers, unlike what we saw with Chloe and who was asking the questions that day?
Ryan?
Against
Ryan? Ryan? Was it the...
No, in the committee. That's...
Oh, okay, different one. Too many fucking
Anyway, there was Chloe and the finance minister, Nikki Noboats. Sorry, I actually can't remember her name.
Nicola Willis.
Nicola Willis, thank you. Yep.
I love that. That's great. That's great.
It's just what came first. Yeah, it's quite different to that interaction, and I'll just sort of play a bit of that here. And generally, what comes out of it is that they both agree there needs to be some kind of bipartisanship with the 30-year infrastructure plan, which makes total sense. Like the sector needs some reassurance that there's not going to be the stop and start. Things like big projects like the ferries aren't going to get cancelled, and they can be sure that there is budget that will be funded through not just this government, but the next government and the next government, and however many terms it.
Yeah.
Long-term planning, exactly. And we as a nation also want that. So that was a general consensus after it. But I found the back and forth quite interesting because Kieran is very respectful, and there's also a talk about sort of this political jabs and sort of unnecessarily making it political when it comes to stuff. And yeah, I want to show you the interaction because I feel like this adds evidence to my bromance theory, right? But I think it also shows, as much as people might hate this, but some of the qualities about Chris Bishop that I can see why people like him and sort of have some respect for him. And I can see why someone like Kieran, who's pretty straight shooting, he'll say what he thinks, can have that kind of bipartisan relationship, even though he even states himself, like, this government doesn't really want bipartisanship. It just wants the other side to agree with whatever they decide. But,
which is pretty good point.
Grains of salt, people. Grains of salt. So let's have a listen to this. I'll just play. I'm not sure. I know. I'm sorry. Right. This is where we have to start.
Well, what needs to be in the plan?
Okay, hang on. I'm gonna back. Oh, why is it so tiny? How do I go? Okay, we'll go from here.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
How about you just give me an answer?
Well, what's the question?
Well, what needs to be in the plan? Because at the moment, frankly, the attitude of some ministers of bipartisanship is, we'll work with you if you agree with us.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's good enough. And so if we want to give the infrastructure sector some certainty, if there is going to be a genuine effort to limit any pausing or cancellation of projects moving forward, that there be work before decisions are made as opposed to an announcement later in the piece.
I mean, I've always said that if you can agree on, if we could get kind of broad agreement on kind of 80% of the pipeline and 80% of the policy settings, that'd be good. But I'm also realistic that political parties are going to disagree about infrastructure priorities up to a point. So just to take a practical example, if we're just being honest with ourselves, you know, the Greens are going to be more into cycling, without speaking for you, Julianne, but the Greens are going to be more into cycling than.
I didn't hear that the first time. I didn't hear what he said. Greens are more into something. Really?
Such a weird thing to bring up. Okay.
Like, really?
Okay.
This is a bit of a side note, but it's also good to point out, like, this is the shit I hate about people attacking the Greens, is they minimize them so much. Like, no one takes them seriously, and it doesn't help that Labour also don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're not helping that at all. The Greens
Absolutely.
are more than just, you know, a bunch of greenies and environmental activists. Like, they have and always have been a socialist party. It's about people.
Oh,
and because
absolutely.
they're about people and tangata whenua, then obviously they're about environmental and the climate change side of things as well. Like, it all goes hand in hand. But this fucking comment, just really?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, strange thing to just bring up in general. Although I will say, from the beginning of when this started playing, some of the looks that Bish gives Kieran, it is giving like bromance fan edit. You know what I mean? Someone needs to make that fan edit.
Discord. We have a job for you. All right, let's continue.
Than probably other parties, and that's fine. You know, we're probably going to be more into roads than maybe the Greens would. That's kind of fine. Like
What? No. Cycling is part of our roading infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
Public transport is a part of our roading infrastructure, because the more opportunities you give people that aren't cars, takes more cars off the road, so those people who really, really want to or have to use a car can use a car without sitting in traffic for ages.
Mm-hmm.
The Greens are into cars. Like, sorry, they're not into cars, but they are into roads. They are into infrastructure. They want it to be, you know.
Well, yeah, you need roads for public transport. You also need passenger rail, but you know, that's another part of the thing they'll never fucking come over on.
Actually, that's to be. If he said the Greens are into trains, I would have been like, yeah,
right?
Cool. He hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah, trains.
National are into their cars, and Labour probably buses, somewhere in the middle. I don't know. We should all be into cycling. Anyway, carry on.
At a certain level, there does have to be a degree of political debate around these things. Like, I'm not one who says you can like completely depoliticize all this stuff, because you're dealing with Crown capital, you're dealing with multi-billion-dollar funding. It's important that people have different views on that, and it's actually to be expected in a democracy. But if you can agree on the fundamentals, that's a good step forward, and I think that would be welcomed by the sector. Take one practical example, for example. Asset management. We've done that really badly in New Zealand for 25, 30 years. The Infrastructure Commission's done a whole series of reports over the last 4 or 5 years that point that out. By one metric, we rank last in the OECD in terms of asset management. 4th to last, I think, generally. One of those metrics, we're last in the OECD in terms of asset management. We subject local government to a whole range of different requirements around asset registers and asset maintenance plans that we don't subject central government to. So we make local councils go through quite a sophisticated process of, CapEx requirements and looking after the assets that they build, but we don't subject our own capital intensive agencies to the same scrutiny or requirements. And so, I've kicked off a program of work around changing that. It'd be good if we could get an agreement, and I'm sure it's part of the infrastructure plan, that the Commission will produce next week. I'm sure there'll be some recommendations to that effect, because there have been already so far from them. If we could agree on something like that, for example, that'd be really good, I reckon.
I agree.
Sorry, I didn't mean to stop there right at the end. Okay, chat, let's be fair for a second here. You're going to hate me for this, Magenta. The Bish there made some really good points. And also...
Oh, I agree.
he sounded very reasonable.
Sounds like a normal human being for a second.
He sounded like a normal human being. Like,
Just a little bit.
He criticized... Okay, this is a slither of... him and his entire MP career. But in this very moment, I listened to that and I went, he is a reasonable dude, he's making reasonable points, and I do agree maybe the councils have more scrutiny than what the government have, this is so different to what we get from the likes of Seymour. And Seymour's whole thing is the councils should have less control, blah, 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 they should focus on this, and this. He sounds like a human being, this guy.
Yeah.
Like he's having a genuine conversation. Am I we kind of have to agree with that, right?
Oh, no, yeah. There's definitely some points in there that I'm like, yes. But also, bad asset management, the fact that a bunch of New Zealand houses were sold off, way back when.
And they're trying to sell off
a
lot of public infrastructure. Yes, I agree with all that.
Yeah. So it's like, yes, you're right, but I don't think you realize you're right in the way that the left think, basically, in that, yes, we should be doing that better, and maybe we shouldn't be trying to force Wellington to sell its airport shares, Maybe we shouldn't be trying to
pay for shit.
Oh, yeah. Maybe we shouldn't be trying to fuck over the Kainga Ora housing and all of that. Those are the assets we should be investing in. Or, I don't know, a ferry that we could have had really soon. I don't know.
Kieran, I don't know if it's before or after or during this, but Kieran also does bring that up about this. Yeah. But, people are roasting me, but you have to remember that the reason I'm saying this, and it comes up in a later thing we're going to talk about, is that MPs themselves, and I feel like in National, there are factions and there are cracks, and there are those someone like Chris Bishop, who I think is really good at playing the party game and following party lines and making sure he's in that party narrative so that he doesn't, make his party look bad because he's a politician, right? You don't want to be doing that. If you want to continue to be in your front row seat of the party, or you want to be prime minister one day even, or just leader of the party. But they are individuals, and I think as individuals they do want good things for the country. Sometimes they put in shit positions, and sometimes they actually have really good points about why they do things. Overall, though, this government is fucking us over. Don't get me wrong. And he is just as much to blame as anyone else. But there's this nice thing in this interaction where there is one little bit where he starts to go, there's a little bit of blame Labour, but it's not nearly as much as the sort of shit that we get from Nicola, who just cannot get off about, in Luxon and everyone else. Oh, it's Labour's fault. It's the last government's fault. This is actually questions and answers, okay?
Yeah, productive, actually trying to have a productive conversation rather than...
Yes. And I do wonder if that's because of the people in the room, where it's him and Kieran, who I think have some kind of reasonable relationship. I don't know how you can, but the centre does exist. Just saying, there is a centre ground somewhere.
I mean, if they're bonding over sports, that's a good way to kind of find a common connection between you, even if you don't always agree on your political beliefs.
Yeah. All right, let's just see what Kieran's
The fact is that wherever there is as much broad agreement on the framework and even the funding mechanisms, ideally, on the whole, then we're going to get a long way. We're not going, it's just absolutely agree with you. We can guarantee we will not agree on everything you've done. We think some of the things you've done are stupid. But the work in the infrastructure plan is a perfect example. What I would like to see is a commitment to, you don't have a say what's in the plan, but you do have a process after that you review it and respond to it.
Yeah.
Now, that is on you, and that has to be in your words, but there's an opportunity there to work with the other side to actually identify where there is broad agreement and include that in your response.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I was saying at the start, is that we're going to have to respond, and I want there to be a parliamentary debate around it. And, you know, you've been well briefed by the Commission so far, and when the plan started to be developed, I wrote to everybody, your predecessor, and offered them a briefing from the Commission, and I understand a number of political parties have taken that up, which I welcome. So, you know, this has ultimately got to be an infrastructure plan for the country, not just for the government. You know, the Infrastructure Commission is statutorily independent of the government. Obviously, they work closely with us, but they have an independent role for that reason. And if you go all the way back to when they were set up back in 2018, 2019, they were done for that reason. So I think the statutory independence is important. So very, very open.
It's interesting he's actually talking about, this reminds me of something that Barbara was talking about, which she was here in Christchurch last week, is that they have Labour, I don't know about the other parties, but Labour have kept quite a good relationship with the Commission. And they are hearing them saying, what the fuck is this government doing? Because we can't plan and we don't know what to do. So they are independent and they do work across the political spectrum because they know that someday another government's going to be in and they want to know that they have that long-term plan. So there is truth in that they, you know, they are independent and they're not just shills. One would hope.
Well, yeah.
They kind of have to work across the political spectrum. They just want to get this shit done.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in theory, I love everything that he's saying. It's just you can't trust it from anyone on that side. I mean, we've already seen them go ahead and lie straight to the faces of New Zealanders since the election, and they haven't stopped since.
I think it's sometimes I do wonder that they are, I don't know if it's lies or they're just what they want as individuals is just not what the party, not even party, it's the fucking leadership, right? Let's just say it is a three-way coalition equally. It's not equal at all. It's fucking Luxon gets a quarter and the other two, no, it's not even that. Luxon gets what would it be?
I mean,
I can't think of one. He gets a slither of the pie. The other two
get the other half. Back shots at the end of the fucking orgy. That's what he gets.
Yeah. So I think someone like Bishop and someone like Erica Stanford might have individual things that they might be able to control, and it's like a tiny bit they control. But the leadership at the top is saying, regulatory standards bill, the treaty principles bill, fucking libertarian bullshit. Let's go after the transgender people. It's that sort of shit. So like, how are you supposed to, and then you have to go along with it because it's your party. Like, that's gotta piss you off. Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, if it clearly has to be tolerable enough because he's still there. He's not walked out party. He's still been serving them. I mean, you can try to say that, like, oh, you know, they don't necessarily aren't representative of who they are individually. It's like, yeah, but if you're kind of doing the work for that team, then you are enabling the beliefs and the consequences of those. Like, it's, I think this comment points it out really well for me, is just, he's pointing out the issue while directing the answer in the wrong direction. Because it's like, oh, yes, you actually finally get it. I agree with you. But then you're just missing it. Like, you just missed it by that much.
Yeah. It's that kind of answer that's just missing the next step. But I think Kieran's doing a really good job of asking the right questions. I'm going to pay a little bit more. Sorry, guys. I know Bishop is probably boring you. But you get the little snippets of Kieran, and then it's like, hey, Kieran, hello.
Very open to that. Just
one follow-up on that. It's good that we're having the debate, but what I'm putting to you, you don't need to respond now. You can have a think about it if you like. But the government needs to respond to this plan. If you work with the opposition parties as part of that, and in your formal response, you can indicate where you have worked with opposition parties and there is agreement, I think that's going to stand in pretty good stead and certainly be welcomed by the sector, rather than having to wade through a parliamentary debate to try and find out where they stand.
Yeah, I'm happy to commit to that now. I'm very open to doing that. Just making the obvious point, it may require, we may not always agree. So for example, you guys have got to figure out where you're at on PPPs, for example, because you've had about 9 different positions.
We know where we're at with that.
Are you sure?
And yes, I am actually.
Okay.
And I've met with the likes of NIFCO and we've talked about it in detail and know exactly where we stand.
Okay.
This is one of the things that I'm actually trying to avoid, right? Is that we can't help ourselves. This is the game we're in. We talk about bipartisanship, but we also take every opportunity to have a crack at each other.
Well, you just said some of the stuff we've done was stupid.
Exactly.
So, you know.
Exactly. Right.
You call me
We can't help
stupid.
ourselves. This is entirely my point. But surely on the fundamentals, like keeping in mind that Barb Edmonds, on behalf of our party, who was the spokesperson at the time, wrote a forward as part of your document on PPPs as a funding mechanism.
Yeah. They're a procurement tool. They're not a funding mechanism.
Yep.
But yeah.
I agree with that too. But at the end of the day, surely we've got to take every opportunity to try and provide that certainty. And that's all I'm just putting it to you.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
I think Ian just says he agrees to some extent, but I think that shows how amazing Kieran is at being really reasonable about his ability to. And I don't know if this is because of the relationship he has. It feels like there is a relationship between the two where they can have that kind of discussion where they have those little jabs, but it's not the kind of shit that we've seen with Nicola Willis, who is so defensive. She's so defensive. She's on the attack when she gets asked anything or she gets criticized for anything. I mean, the interaction I saw there is so different, right?
I feel like part of that is that Bishop would also not treat other people as kindly or as jovially as he does Kieran, which obviously shows that, you know, there's some buffer kind of thing going on between these two middle-aged white blokes, you know, to kind of like have that conversation, which is great that Kieran's able to do that. But I guess it also just frustrates me how our government is so fractured in the way that like they can't hear reasonable arguments from strong, assertive women without making a fuss of it, without making it some, oh, greenies are just crying, or TPM are just being TPM. Like, it's very dismissive of those people. And I guess that's where it is. It's like, I think that's also where sometimes Labour can kind of seem like they can be a bit closer to that side than, say, the other two, is that they do have those kinds of things. I mean, it's great that they could have that conversation. I just wish that Bishop would respect other ministers the way that he respects Kieran.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Do you think, because someone like Chloe is a great example, because she's very passionate, and I totally get why. Like, it's it's a very frustrating environment, as we saw in that clip yesterday, to be in. It's exhausting to try and get actual answers. It's exhausting going up against lies after lies and just not getting your point through. But do you think that someone like her, and this, I think Marama's the same, that sort of passionate, do you think their passion comes off as aggression sometimes, and that puts them on the back foot already?
I mean, when it comes to misogyny, women having any form of an emotion can often be considered that, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's just so much that's just so clearly rooted in that implicit bias that we love to try to pretend doesn't wholly affect us. Still quite a lot to, like, in everything we do and in everything sometimes we can say, you know? Like, even say sometimes we talk about whether Kieran or Barbara should be, say, potentially the leader of the Labour Party. And a lot of people say Kieran, but I'm like, there is going to be parts of that is rooted in the fact that you feel more safe and confident in a man's ability to lead you than a woman. Like whether you like it or not, you can't deny it. There's definitely those types of things that, you know, you kind of really have to proactively work on deconstructing every fucking day for the rest of your life. But yeah, I mean, I always see that, like, with, especially because, you know, like Marama, Tamitha Paul, our brown women especially, they get obviously dismissed and just absolutely like invalidated, and when they're genuinely so fucking right. And it almost feels like that's kind of part of what kind of plays into it, is that these fragile men are like, I don't like that a woman's actually able to point out the fact that I haven't done this well, because that makes me feel some kind of way about my masculinity. And rather than go to therapy and actually figure that shit out, I'll take it out on a job that affects every person who lives in this country. And I mean, that's just reckless behavior.
Yeah.
And I did not expect this to go on such a tangent down to that, but hey, that's who we got.
Everything goes back to
go to
misogyny.
therapy.
Go to therapy. Yeah, I think there is I always find it really interesting to see the interactions between especially in obviously Parliament and in the House and the debate chamber is very different, and like it does get heated, and you are screaming across a giant hall. Like, not screaming, but you are talking in a giant hall, which kind of means you. But there is screaming. But it's more of that you're in a big space, so you kind of have to speak up. Whereas this is a small room and they're having a conversation, and like, there is a different atmosphere about it. But I did find this quite interesting because this just felt so different to Nicola Willis, who was just up in arms, and she always is so up in arms when she gets questioned about anything. Like, she can do no wrong, you know. She sits on her pedestal and she can do no wrong, and she will not admit. If anything, she'll admit wrongdoing of someone else. Like, she'll say that she has to do it because someone else made her do it. Like, it's never. I liked what Chris Bishop was doing there, where he was kind of agreeing, and like it was a conversation, you know. Like I would like to see more of that. Despite the fact that we're in a fucked up government, sometimes I just like to see some humanity. Sometimes,
especially because I would say, a lot of people on the right, they're not able to say, oh, maybe I've changed my mind about this. Maybe we could actually find a compromise. It's no, I'm going to stick my fucking heels into this one side. And unless you come to my side, I'm just going to be an insufferable, stubborn little bitch. And it's just, it's not a productive way to do anything. You're not going to get anywhere just trying to be like, no, you're mean, and you called me mean, you called me a bad thing, and then that made me lash out, and now like I'm just not thinking or processing very well, and I'm just emotionally reactive rather than responding with my fucking brain.
That's pretty much it. I think we've had a really good discussion about that. You made some really great points. We've had a great conversation.
I also I created a hashtag earlier.
Bromance theory. Oh,
hashtag bromance
I like
theory.
It.
Let's start building it. Right?
I love it. Kieran's gonna have something more to be embarrassed by.
Karen's like, man, these two have got to stop talking about me. Like,
first it was Holly McAnulty, now it's the bromance theory.
Yeah, I wonder which one he'd prefer, actually. If anyone wants to let us know what if Kieran's team wants to let us know what he thinks about this, feel free to just hit us up.
We'll send him this clip and see what he thinks.
Yeah.
All right, super chats. Let's go through this.
Yes. Ignore the ones that I've just kind of we'll look at those ones later.
I mean,
those are from. Well, you asked how people were, and I was like, stuffed with hangi.
Yeah,
jealous.
That does sound good.
I should have gone to Kiwi Burbs for lunch.
Delicious. Mr. Alex 789 for $20. Thank you. Just wanting to say no to health privatization in New Zealand. Waited 6 hours in Lower Hutt Hospital suffering from the flu and then fainted. Oh my goodness. Luckily the nurses knew what to do. Health privatization hurts everyone. Agreed.
Yeah. I'm really sorry that you had to go through that.
Yeah, that's awful. Kiri Burbs highlight of the week was Chloe doing the head desk meme.
Mm-hmm. That
Oh.
was so good. We've got a meme coming up for that later too. Don't worry.
Good, I imagine. We got Mr. Arvid says we're into fairies too, Bish. The ones who cancelled. It's very true. He's still part of their government. Good point, Bish. Next sucks at asset management. The danger of mouse. Bish used to be human, then he had to toe the party line. Another sellout. It's true.
I mean,
Mr. Arvids for $10 says, Is it the have moments of sense, or they say these things?
is it they have moments?
Oh, is it they have moments of sense, or they say these things to save face? I lean towards they're more nonsense harm than not. The Bish is bad faith, and I'm kind of sick of us giving these people credit.
Yeah. I mean,
I
don't think we're giving them credit. No one here is giving them credit. That's for fucking sure.
I'm not giving him credit. I'm just saying sometimes, and I think it's worth pointing out sometimes, that we are talking about people, right? And sometimes those people have thoughts and opinions that go against the party. And sometimes they say things that are reasonable and they do things that are reasonable, even if they're on the other side of the political spectrum. Doesn't mean we have to fucking vote for them. And it doesn't mean that we're not going to criticize them the next thing that they do, such as the state housing issue.
Yeah, we can agree with people in a specific isolated context and point, but not agree with each other in like a more broader entire life scope. Like, there's definitely saying that something like this is, yep, I can see that, is not endorsing and going, and that means you should vote for the Bish and he's a great fucking person. Because no, look at his fucking face. No. It did make me think though. There was one other point during that thing though that kind of I just get sick of hearing, and it's that him when he was trying to be like, oh, you know, we can't fully depoliticize it, as if that should be a goal. Like, I'm getting quite sick of hearing people try to weaponize how politicized something is. It's like, no, that's not inherently a negative thing. I mean, you know, being in a minority is essentially living, like, being politicalized against your fucking will. Some people don't have a choice in that. And to say that you should be able to completely take it out of it is just ridiculous, because at the end of the day, if politics' root word is from people, that means you're trying to take the people out of these decisions.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point indeed. The only one I missed out there, and I was just going to wait to the end, was Kai Matata. And did y'all end up reading the article I tagged in today? I know political messaging sounds boring, but it's super important. Atlas do training for it. I haven't yet read it. I did get tagged in it, thank you, and I will have a read of it when I get a chance. But
yeah, I was very busy today, but
I was the same. Jeez.
It's on my list.
I always like to go through in the weekend and catch up on my or I like to sit down at some point and like read through all my emails, because I get Tui's as well, and I get Gary's as well, and I get David Ferrier's as well. It's just like,
so
okay, what can I tolerate today?
Real, honestly.
I'm going to read this one because it's also about the Bish. $20. Thank you, Mr. Alex. I drove Bish mad when I met him at the River Lake Market in Lower Hutt and told him that I would give the NZTA a 0 out of 10 for the communication on the Pizzone and to Granada and Cross Valley Link project in Lower Hutt. Good on you.
Nice.
And so you should. That is your right as a citizen.
Right. I would have probably just called him a cunt to his face.
James also just saying this again as a super chat. Bish is a former tobacco lobbyist and the son of an Atlas alumni. I can't take anything he says as genuine or human. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. I mean, see, it's all the AI bots are inside. It's coming from inside the house, guys.
From inside.
Oh.
Right here.
Do we want some memes then to
Yeah, go on.
cleanse the palate of Bishop? We got weird AI music, weird L music. This is just so crazy. This is just a crazy tweet from Donald Trump. In order to get elected, Barack Obama will start a war with Iran. I'm just like, okay, someone's got to take his phone off him. Most other nations don't allow a terrorist to be their leader, yet so many allow their leaders to be terrorists. Bars. This isn't a meme. This is just a picture of Auntie Helen from way back in the day, in case people didn't know she had long hair. It was a conversation we were having on Discord, and I just thought, hey, there might be people who only really knew her as the short-haired prime minister. So there you go.
Such a hippie.
I mean, yeah, she kind of was. Like, I remember my mum talking about her more hippie era, and then obviously she got into Parliament and went and hung out with Shrek the sheep instead of seeing the foreshore and seabed protesters, because little bitch. Destruction of property is not a valid form of protest. Meanwhile, Jesus was woke. He was also brown. This is based off, I think, something I said on the show last week. I bring a sort of just pirate it vibe to the conversation that streaming services don't really like. And I mean, army hearties. All in favor of fascism, those opposed. And I mean, that picture at the bottom, I bet you the New Zealand Herald would say there was like 10,000 people.
So
Teacher.
Depressing.
What are you laughing at? Me. Nothing. My brain. Elon Musk. It's a nice meme when it comes to thinking about him. I was like, we haven't had one of those. This is, oh my God. Okay, so this is a little dark, but it really is accurate. Why is the leader of Iran giving loading screen tips? Increasing combat capabilities prevents the enemy from attacking. And Jesus Christ, that does sound like a loading screen tip. Working class people around the world have no innate desire to go to war with each other. They have to be conned into it by sociopaths who will profit from it. I mean, definitely seeing that. Me not watching the news because if it's important enough, I'll know about it from memes. And honestly, there was a solid while there where all my news was coming from memes first. So it's definitely a vibe. All right.
Nice. Thank God for the memes.
What do we got next?
Our last conversation leads really nicely into the next conversation.
Yay! We love a good segue.
Yep, we do. I'm being the both sides shit stirrer tonight. Sometimes you actually get a decent discussion.
Yeah, actually, I saw we were talking about this.
Just follow what someone else is saying, right? You can have your own opinions, guys. You don't have to agree with me.
I haven't watched this yet, so I'm excited to see.
I was really struggling to find my timestamps, which is not helpful because I've got the wee scripty thing, and sometimes I can click on the scripty thing, and it goes right to the thing, but I've lost a. Oh wait, here it is. Is this?
We found it. We found it.
No, hang on. That's. They found it. I found it. Okay.
Nice.
Okay.
I was gonna say we don't need another emergency meme. We're good.
They kind of have like a weird two. So, Trevor Noah and Jon Stewart came onto Trevor Noah's podcast. What now? Not the kids' TV show. What? Comma now question mark the show. If you don't know much about either of these two, Jon Stewart is the former presenter of The Daily Show. It is now the Monday presenter of The Daily Show. He's in semi-retirement, living his best life. Trevor Noah was the guy that took over from Jon Stewart. And his story about how he became the host of the show after John was just hilarious. So have a read, have a watch of the whole thing if you'd like. But they talk about in here how, and I really like Trevor Noah for this as well, because he is someone who has a very different perspective, an outside perspective of American politics, because he grew up in South Africa and really only came to the States when he got the job. And he has experience of apartheid. He has a Dutch father, an South African mother. He speaks 2 languages. Like there's lots of things. He has an experience of the world that's and a view of the world and an understanding of things that's very interesting. And I always loved his when he did Between the Scenes on the Daily Show, and you just have a back and forth with the audience, and you get some fascinating insights to how he sees things. And he is that kind of guy who can give credit with credit's due, but also criticize at the same time. And the conversation that they have here in sort of 2 parts is they're talking about how when they would criticize their political side, that that liberals would be really bad and just sort of saying, well, now you're playing for the other side of the team, so you drop. Like their whole cancel culture thing that was very that was quite rife for quite some time. So I'll quickly play. They also talk about sports analogies, which I quite liked.
I'm sure Pat would love the fact that sports analogies.
Yes. They did a really good sports analogy. I don't know if it's part of this or not, but essentially, Trevor was saying that he gets really annoyed when, like, when you're on a soccer team and someone fucks up, and the whole team or someone on the team criticizes their own team, and was like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, were you trying to hit our own goal?" It's like, you guys are all playing in the same team. Like. Yeah, mistakes happen. Let's move on. It's that kind of vibe, which I quite like. It was really good, a really good analogy. We'll have a listen. Oh, not that fast.
Oh, Jesus.
Not that. I'm gonna go 1.25 just because. So I wonder if we'll get away with it and not be on the algorithm.
I can't hear that.
What have I done?
Maybe you just have to reshare it and click the little button, maybe.
No. Oh.
Did I hear it?
Hang on. Okay, shoot. Okay, normal here. She talks really fast. I was trying to get backwards.
Liberals do that. And if the person's receptive, I go, yeah, we made a mistake. Let's move on.
Yes.
I don't think liberals do that, to be honest with you. I think there's like there's a real like, well, not only are you out, you're on the other team.
Right.
Which is even crazier to me. Imagine playing a game, John. Imagine playing a sport. And every time your wide receiver drops a catch, every time your point guard passes the ball out of bounds, not only do you bench them to the other team. That is an unsustainable way of growing a coalition.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It doesn't encourage people.
The only thing that because,
and again, grace
all
is the key
groups
thing.
Have that litmus test. Like if I'm looking at, so I'm thinking about the right now, and before I grant them the redemption arc, I think about the vindictiveness of the Trump era. That there's very little of it. You know, there are really no deadly sins in the Trump era in terms of that. When you talk about faith, and he can be convicted of this, or he can, and evidence of unfaithfulness. And
they talked about earlier about religion and how that kind of thing of you follow God you kind of follow the general gist of things, even if you don't agree with every part of it. You know, there's parts of Christianity that there's very, they were talking about the whole, how Christianity in itself is very fractured, and there's lots of different denominations, and like some people believe this and some people believe that. Some people say that's not how you interpret that and that sort of thing. But generally they're all following the same God. Not saying Trump is God, but like it's the idea that he's talking about how Trump can, like he's imperfect, and that makes him kind of like Jesus, right? Is it Jesus?
Yeah. Was supposed to be someone who's basically relatable to the people by being fallible rather than infallible.
Yeah.
Sexual harassment, all these different things. And he's an imperfect vessel.
Yes.
But the one cardinal sin is fealty, is if you're not loyal enough.
You're not wrong.
So they do have
you're not. That's where religion comes back in.
Right.
Thou shalt have no other God but me.
That's right.
That is
but that places him beyond the scope of redemption and into the pantheon. Because there was a part of me that thought, oh, it is true. Like I've been involved in some liberal movements. Like we have a rescue farm, so I was involved in animal rights.
I remember when we
met some of those
chasing
folks.
They go on a side tangent and they're talking about how John Stewart was part of an animal sanctuary, and then he was running after a bull in New York City, essentially. Then they get back to the topic at hand. But was there anything that you wanted to expand on? I know it's kind of a weird, like, in between a conversation. I could play the whole thing in context, but honestly, it would take us a while. But the general gist of what they're saying is, talking about imperfect leaders and being loyal to someone regardless of their imperfections, that just comes with good and bad. And sometimes the right is very much the same in a lot of ways too, is that as soon as they do something that's even slightly wrong, they'll just cull them. But I think we on the left are also really bad at that. We're seeing that with Chippy, and you and I are very, like, we will blast Chippy for his imperfections. But there is a lot of really confusing things there, because it's like, well, do you blast the leader that they decided to go with? Do you just is it a good sign if the people on the left are not supporting the left party, or the major left party? Like there's a lot of really awkward things about, and it's just politics, I think, in a lot of ways, what it comes down to, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, when it comes to the whole Chippy thing, it's not like we're having a go at him because we're like, oh, fuck you, we don't like you, you're just as bad as the other side. We're like, no, there are inconsistencies in your messaging that are quite important and do need to be made clearer so that, these people you say you want to potentially get to vote for you actually feel like they can trust you. Because if you're not having that kind of, clearly they're, like he said, they're cohesive within their party. But when we're in an MMP system and we're kind of essentially back into a two-party system, when we really think about it at the end of the day, because we're just making it the right side coalition and the left side coalition, but that's a whole different other conversation. Like, it does seem like, that there is a lot of things he's saying against the other parties of that side of the MMP that aren't good, that do not show that they're actually working well together with them, that doesn't show it, and it just creates this inconsistency. And I think that's absolutely fine to actually call out and be like, hey, I don't think this is great. Maybe it's not me saying you're a horrible fucking person and you might as well be a right winger. Like, no, you're in the center. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't criticize those people. I do think that, unfortunately, especially in the left, we have had histories of bad things where, like, lefties will sometimes get a bit too hardcore and they'll try to be, this puritanical version of politics, which
that's how we got cancel culture, which was kind of like, it was a shift far too much in the other direction, and then we kind of sort of went, okay, that was probably a bit far. We've sort of found a better place to be in, but
it's like an overreaction to, and at the same time, I don't even necessarily think that overreaction isn't exactly wholly bad either. Like there's a lot of minority groups who end up lashing out against, say, other minority groups or just other people in general, because they're it's like they call it like the hedgehogging effect, where basically they start to get really defensive, and that defensiveness can kind of not help them be productive or positive. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think that there is, like, if you put someone up on a pedestal, they're kind of guaranteed to fall and crash because you're putting them up on a pedestal. You know, we often think when we look at leaders, we look for them to have infallibility, like be fallible, so that we can kind of relate to them. But then we take that and then we internalize it and then still put them up on that pedestal. And that's where I think the disconnect is. And I think that's why, you know, when I learned about even say the term rangatira in terms of leadership in Te Ao Māori, it's not like the rangatira sits above everyone. The rangatira is literally tying and able to bring these people together. You have to have a lot of skills, and you also have to be able to sit there and, you know, take on criticisms, take on a lot of feedback. And like, we should be able to do those things without, you know, going, oh no, now I feel like I'm weak and everyone's gonna not follow me, because if I admit this, it means I'm weak and I won't be able to lead. Like, it's definitely something that I think catches people in a bit of a trap. Oh, are you muted? I think, yeah.
Yeah, it's because I was drinking. I didn't want to be like glug, glug, glug.
No, I get it. I was about to do the same.
There you go. There you go. We're all glug, glug, glug. Someone saying the cancel culture wasn't really that bad. I disagree. I think there was very valid cancel culture. I think, no, there was very valid cancellations. It's not even, that's not quite right. Against people during the Me Too movement, where it was sort of enough is enough. We're not going to tolerate this anymore, and like, there is so much misogyny and sexual harassment in just the world in general against women, and enough is enough. We're not going to be silent about it anymore, and we need to start doing something about it. But that kind of and there was so many people in power or celebrities, all these sort of people that were at fault, and they all started to get outed, rightfully so, for criminal action, right? Sexual harassment, sexual assault is criminal action. And it was a shame of these women, which that's victimization in itself. And then they started to come out, and people were getting cancelled, but they were rightly being prosecuted or persecuted. Persecuted, but maybe not prosecuted, unfortunately, for it. And they shouldn't have the success that they have until justice is served. I think that's where it kind of came from, right? You shouldn't be out there flaunting and on the stage and like, because justice has not been served. Does that make sense? It would be like,
yeah, well, it's about deplatforming someone so that they're not able to have, you know, a means of not only spreading potentially a dangerous message, but also just monetizing and making money off of that. Yeah.
Or gaining even more power through money and that sort of thing as well, you know, being able to bail themselves out and that sort of thing, you know.
To be fair,
so justice is never 100% served, right? It's kind of the
I also feel like the term cancel culture, it's taking a concept that actually does have a lot of very valid and reasonable points, and kind of just making this overarching umbrella that often just is a means to which to kind of invalidate or like devalue someone's kind of point. Because like, I feel like like you said, the Me Too stuff, like, that wasn't cancel culture. That was people being held to account and victims finally feeling like there was a space in which they were able to come out and actually, you know, take the burden of that off of them. But then you get people who, you know, the right wingers who go, oh, and then the snowflakes got all blah blah blah, and the fucking now I can't even compliment a woman at work, otherwise I'm gonna get cancelled. No, fuck off. Fuck off.
I think the cancel culture came from that, though. It was I think we definitely overcorrected after that to like the idea of because we were not going after, but because it was people who were on that pedestal that were getting deplatformed, or we were finally saying this is not okay and you should no longer have the sort of the status that you have until justice is served. Like, justice should be served because you've you know, predators to everything. But that overcorrection then became you said something online 10 years ago, or you used the N-word, or you did things in your past that you would now not do and you would condemn because you understand
you
now that you've
posted a
changed.
racial slur when you were a teenager, and now you should, which is obviously not
But
at all.
That's not the same.
About.
No.
Yeah.
I think that's what the issue was, is that cancel culture became that, and that's when right wingers went, oh, I can't even give a compliment to a woman anymore, because they lumped it all together as like, that's where I sort of think that was the issue with cancel culture.
I feel like part of that, though, was kind of just in retaliation to the fact that people were bringing up very like reasonable, genuine concerns that were not being taken seriously. Like, if people find that complaining about a broken leg isn't going to get them help, they might start complaining about smaller and smaller issues to try and test the waters to see if they can maybe get help with that broken leg. Like, I do feel like there is, like, and it also just plays on people's kind of, I think, like, people get afraid when they kind of get told, hey, you shouldn't do this anymore. Like, when, people started saying, hey, Māori, we should probably stop saying the N-word. Like, a lot of Māori, and even still to this day, are like, really? Like, no. They're like, no, I am too afraid to let go of that. But that doesn't mean that it shouldn't be done. And I think when, it comes to these things, like seeing, seeing a celebrity that you've spent the last 30 years idolizing, you find out that they're a piece of shit. You start to internalize what that might mean, or even potentially mourn the fact that you like might have to stop, watching this person. Like, I mean, we grew up in like the more YouTube times, so I think we know better than anyone. Sometimes you just got to stop watching them because they're a piece of shit, and that can no longer justify watching those videos, even if they're a part of your literal, like, I've had one of the YouTubers I would listen to creepypastas to go to sleep. He was found out to have been inappropriately messaging minors, and that actually literally disturbed my entire sleep pattern, because it took me ages to find a voice that I could listen to that had the same effect. But you know what? I had to do
morally, it was the right thing to do.
I'm not going to allow them the ad revenue that my sleeping will give them. Like, sometimes you do just have to make uncomfortable changes and live with that discomfort, because in discomfort is where growth happens. Right.
Yep. It turned out the creepypasta guy was actually creepy.
I mean, it was literally in the name, but it still hurt. All right, it still hurt.
The next wee bit, I'll just show this as well, because it kind of follows on from the same thing. After they talk about Jon Stewart chasing a bull in New York and bringing it to a sanctuary, and then driving through the freeway with a giant with a bull in their trailer. It's a great story. Just go watch the whole interview. It's fantastic. But they bring it back to comedy as well. As one of the things they say is it's fragility, and sometimes when you're watching a comic on stage and they're really timid, it puts everyone in like a position of like, you feel timid for him. You're like, oh, I feel uncomfortable. Like, oh, this is cringy and uncomfortable. Yeah, they're liking this to the likes of Biden, and that when we saw some of the interviews and things that he was doing, we all, and it's the same with Chippy. It's the same feeling we get with Chippy sometimes. We go, oh, this makes me uncomfortable. Is this the guy that can win the next election? That is the exact same feeling, and they're talking about this, and I feel like we can all somewhat relate to it in a lot of ways. Now, did I put the sound back on? Yes, I did. Okay, don't come for me.
When they feel that fear, they're very comfortable attacking who they think are the other team.
Yes.
And they think that if you give them any solace, they don't view it as that might be a constructive lens by which to view, like a stand-up comic. what's the worst thing that a stand-up comic can be? Fragile. If the audience is worried for the comic,
Yeah, that's the
you're
worst
not going to
feeling.
listen to it. Well, that's what Biden was in that moment. He would come out, and I don't care who you were, like, you were worried.
No, you were.
You felt it viscerally. Mentioning that as a way of maybe saying to people, either A, prove that this is the wrong emotion that I'm feeling, or B, get someone there that has the wherewithal to take on this. I would think would be viewed constructively, but it was viewed utterly destructively. You know, in terms of it bothering me, like, nobody likes to be yelled at a lot,
Yeah.
but I think I've been doing it long enough that the thickness of the skin, like, I don't dwell on it in maybe the way I would have when I was younger. But the second part of it is, I remember the war on terror.
Wait, no, hang on.
Like America in that fight over Al Qaeda. Big fan. But I criticized America quite frequently. That doesn't mean I wanted Al Qaeda to win. Or that doesn't mean that I think, it means that I hold my beliefs and the people that I want to carry the flag for that to a very high standard. And that standard, if not met, I think, in the same way that I try to hold myself to a high standard.
Yeah.
And when failing to live up to it, I'm very critical and try and grant that forgiveness. But the point being, if you love something, if you believe in the idea of something, you have to stress test it. It's like anything else, man. What's the toughest part about comedy is it's not the writing, it's the rewriting.
Yeah.
It's the editing.
Yeah.
And why do you do that? You do that because you think you can make it better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you feel? Yeah. I was watching that and I was like, shit, this is really reflective of what we have been feeling and saying, and about how we're feeling about Labour at the moment. Because let's just be 100% honest, Labour have to win in order for there to be in order for Greens and Te Pāti Māori to have any power. The left rely on Labour winning. So even though some of us, myself personally, I wouldn't be voting for Labour. I might not party vote, at least. I'm not party voting Labour. I'm very honest about that. But that said, I still need Labour to win, and they are the majority on our side. So I like this conversation because we get criticised for criticising Chippy. You and I do. Pat and Chewie do. We get criticised for criticising Chippy because, and even myself, I'm still worried that it looks like we aren't cohesive, right? With, like, if we don't support the left-leaning party, then, you know, everyone starts to freak out because, you know, you're a bunch of lefties. You should be supporting the left party. If the left party aren't good enough, then, you know, it's not worth voting. Like, there's all that sort of thing of, like, there's no...
I feel like that so overly conflates how left Labour are, though. It's such an interesting way that people view it.
yeah. But, criticising your own team, that kind of thing.
I mean, the coalition that we are essentially associated with.
Lumped towards.
I mean, though, I find that interesting because it's like, well, I'm sure if, you know, what about Winston Peters making comments on Christopher Luxon's actions or David Seymour's? That scene is, like, often is not actually seen that badly. And if anything, it's like, oh, look at them being robust and able to debate each other. I'm sure the right love that because they're like, oh, see, at least they're able to stand in their things and have a back and forth, even if it's a fucking mess. But, I mean... yeah, I just find it interesting that, like, Labour, I do think it would be great for New Zealanders to slowly start to learn, like, hey, it doesn't have to be Labour. Te Pāti Māori and the Greens, if voters who didn't vote actually fucking got out there and actually voted, then, like, I'm sure we can make up the numbers because there is a lot of people in this country who do not vote or do not participate at all. So... I hate to say it is likely still, though, at least this round. Maybe in the next couple of rounds, people will start to realize that we, the people, have a lot more power when we vote. Because right now, we're fucking stuck with this shit.
Yeah. I guess the thing that I kind of want people to take away from it is, yes, criticize it. From this side of things, yes, I think it's fair that we're critical of them. I think we should be critical of all of our politicians, and we should also give credit where credit's due. That's why everyone very unhappy that I was giving Chris Bishop some credit where credit's due. But there was something in that that was worth crediting. But as a whole, not happy with his party, not happy with him and some of the things that he's done. But as an individual and in that individual moment, I can criticize Ed. Well, I can give credit there. But at the same time, I might be overall really happy with some of Labour's MPs, and I really like the likes of Kieran and Duncan Webb and Barbara, and like those are really good politicians. I also really like Chippy, but there are moments that I criticize Chippy and I say, I'm like that fragility, right? Of like, that doesn't sound good. Where's the cohesiveness in that? And because
whereas it shouldn't be like that. It should be like, cool, you're actually asking questions and challenging someone, not leading them, like blindly following them.
Yeah. The politics is a fun one. I think for us, we sit in our echo chamber and we're all very politically active, and we know what's going on. We see the ins and outs. We see the dog whistles. But the thing is, when the major criticism I have of Chippy is that if he criticizes too much the progressive policies that the likes of the Greens have and Te Pāti Māori have, then the progressive policies that they're going to put forward are going to also reflect the general sentiment that they are giving to those policies, to that progressive side of politics. Because if they say airy-fairy Greens or unrealistic Greens and all that sort of stuff, then if they put through a capital gains tax, then the general person, the general public, are going to go, oh, that sounds progressive, scary, and socialist. There'll be a sector of people that will go, ugh, I don't know about that. And then there'll be a sector of people who are maybe a little bit more on board with progressive policies and capital gains tax and more taxing wealth, that sort of thing, who understand it, who will then be on board with it. So, yeah, I think it's just, but in our little space in BHN, we can have discussions.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
we might not always agree with each other, but we can see each other's point of view.
Yeah, there's actually one comment here that they said we need to be careful when we criticize Chippy. It falls into the same basket of Chippy criticizing the Greens. I don't think it should. So I guess maybe potentially hot take. I don't think it should, because you got the Greens and Te Pāti Māori, who are these two minor parties that don't generally have a lot of weight they can throw around in the game. Labour are supposed to be the buffers onto this left side. We should be expecting them to have, we should hold them to higher standards. You know, the same way you would hold someone who leads a team of people to higher responsibilities than the other people who are on their team. If they're going to be the main left party, they should take on the responsibility of bringing that left coalition with them, not weirdly taking jabs at them for honestly what feels like no reason other than to satisfy the national voters they want to steal. Like, I don't know. It seems kind of weak.
Yeah, it is a weird one. I think the best way I can put it is punching up and punching down. We are punching up because they have far more power than what we have. We can criticize the likes. We can criticize the likes of our politicians and things because we have zero power in all of this. Like, we have a little bit of power because we have a conversation and platform, but we don't have nearly as much power as they have to influence. And it's the same with Labour when they criticise Te Pāti Māori and Greens, as they're punching down. And if Labour want to be a slightly more progressive and more left party, they have to bring the voter base in their centre with them. I think is where I'm going. Is like they need to bring them with them and bring them towards, because we are generally moving, like centre is moving centre left more and more and more. Progressive policies, more social policies, people-based policies are more popular. capital gains tax was very popularly voted in the general public and surveys and things like that. So, but they need to get Labour to keep pushing that way and not doing this weird and then this weird thing. I don't know. It's kind of how I feel about it.
Strange dance they're playing.
Yeah. Anyways, all right. Let's meme it up.
Memes?
Yeah, go
Hey.
on.
Me, I could really use a sign. The universe. Why not try crime? I mean, although if you're, I'd say this one's a better one to try if you're white versus if you're brown, as we've heard a lot this week. Also, this was another great part from the Jon Stewart episode of The Daily Show. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend it. The gays have the advanced technology. We've got gay robot dogs, guys. This is part of the gay agenda. When nobody shows up to your sad little birthday parade. World War III. IBM slide from 1979. A computer can never be held accountable. Therefore, a computer must never make a management decision. That includes hiring, that includes scheduling, that includes firing, that includes approving or denying social benefits. I'm looking at you, Wins. Landlord, you are sheltering enemies of the state, are you not? Meowing. Cats are terrorists. We got Juneteenth exists, white dudes. I also love the bottom of it. It's quite hard to read, but per Meta's rules, we are required to point out that this is, of course, not all white men, or only white men, or even only men, because there are shitty people exist across multiple identities, and we all knew that. But some folks choose to get very upset when there aren't disclaimers written out for people whose own protests to kind of make them sus TBH. Plus, this was made by a white dude, so shut the fuck up. Thanks. I love that disclaimer. This was actually posted in the Discord from 1954, and you'll see there's a University of Auckland Library. The cost of living is a national disaster. Guys, look, they even knew back then. It's a national disaster, not a Labour disaster, a national disaster. What a headline might look like if the same people who owned the media companies hadn't also bankrolled Trump's election. Embattled US ruler deploys armed troops against citizen amid mass protests against regime's kidnapping spree. Which, I mean, some of those videos have been insane. I'm assuming you've seen some of the ICE kidnappings. Yeah, fucking terrifying. I thought you might like this one. How millennials started versus how we're going. Ashley Olsen goes hiking with a drink in one hand and a machete in the other, which is kind of based.
I feel it.
Hi, PhD researcher who studies climate and human evolution here. Please stop comparing dying from poverty to Darwin's survival of the fittest. Poverty is a social construct caused by wealth hoarding in a post-industrial age, not by some natural resource shortage, you fascist. Discussing leftist theory with other leftists, discussing it with capitalists that have no capital. And then how to professionally say, fuck around and find out. Answer, please test that assumption and then take notes of the results. Which I thought was a very, very nice one. All right.
Nice.
Let's get to the next one.
Our last one's kind of a... I don't know. I feel like we have to very quickly touch on this. I don't know if the boys did touch on this last night, which is the New Zealand census being scrapped. Well done. Well done, National. All in the name of saving money. So, obviously, it was a decision to save money. The scrapping of the census. It's the scrapping of the census from 2030.
Yes.
I believe.
Yeah, 2030
Is it
is when
supposed-
I believe it's supposed to come in.
Yes. So we're doing the next census, I believe. But there's a really interesting article on Newsroom, and there was also another one that I'll find for it in a second. But essentially what the government are going to do is, instead of doing a full census in which they ask detailed, specific demographic information.
Yeah.
Demographic information that's really important, that should be used to inform policies in the future. It's also really good for just population data,
Yeah.
which you can't just do from ad hoc pulling it from different administrations. The issue with pulling it from a bunch of different administrations is that you'll have weird double ups of numbers. You'll get inconsistent data. You'll get very siloed data as well. So, for example, an individual can give you a full rundown of themselves, even though it's very locked down in terms of privacy and things like that. So you can't say, find me a person or find, I don't know, Magenta's data. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
It all kind of gets aggregated together, but all of the questions that they ask get aggregated together, and then you can see, how many LGBT community or people that identify as as part of the queer community, the rainbow community, have health issues, or have
A lot of us.
Calling you out, let's be honest, or have I don't know, all sorts of things. Like, that's how you get that
what
sort of
areas,
data.
Yeah, it's regional as well, so it helps us know like what areas have more needs in this type of, population who need these things. I'm so mad about this.
This is analysis by Jonathan Milne. He says in here later, which not just the stats side of things, but also this scrapping this, what it says about our current culture as well, and how not that the government bloody likes data, or uses it, to be honest. So if we get rid of the census, we got no data. We'll just cherry pick what we want. But how that plays into the current culture war that's that's currently happening. So I'll just read a bit of this for you. It's been coming for a long time, but nonetheless, this is a bad time to drop the census. This is a post-truth era when New Zealand and the world needs facts they can trust. But Stats NZ's trust problem is not just the local manifestation of worldwide culture wars, it's also a problem directly of Stats NZ's own making. It's interesting. It's botched 2 censuses in succession, unfortunately. In 2018, the shift towards online data at the expense of field operations delivered far than lower expected response rates and data quality concerns, particularly for Māori and Pacific populations, which I'll talk about in a second. Government statistician was forced to tender her resignation. Then her successor had some issues as well. So not great. Still important to do though. She and Reti are right to place that the pace of policy making requires information that is updated more than once every 5 years, though to be fair, most of that data is already available, subject to compliance with Privacy Act. Yes, but Stats NZ population and housing statistics per person, New Zealand can be confident that the information is being treated properly and that the statistical reporting remains robust. The enduring challenge of maintaining New Zealand's trust and confidence is paramount. Stats NZ is committed to building trust and reassuring New Zealand that we will protect the privacy and security of their information. Laws and policies guide how Stats NZ protects and manages data, including the Privacy Act, the Data and Statistics Act. There are strict privacy, security and confidentiality rules in place. Stats NZ still calls this census data, though it will be very different from any traditional definitions of the census. While we're moving away from the traditional survey-led census, this is not the end of the census. We will still be producing census data and statistics and doing that annually from 2030. European countries, Netherlands, Germany, Switzerland, Sweden and Norway also compile their population counts that way and call it census data, but these countries, they require all residents to be registered on unified national databases.
Which would make sense to do if we had unified national databases.
Former government statistician points out they help us understand the dynamics of land use changes. For instance,
can't let people know about that.
Those sheep numbers, 233,000 in 1851, had risen to 76 million in 1976, but have now fallen back to 23 million. There you go. Fun facts for you guys. That means farmers moving off their land, school rolls falling, rural communities stagnating. Why is this? And is it healthy evolution towards a lower carbon, high-tech economy, or is it a problem that government and communities need to address? There is enormous variability in the drivers of population change and age structure among different local and national communities. The interaction between policy and population changes weekly. Change is weakly understood. So the Reti calls the statistic changes getting back to basics, but to many, these contemporary data collection tools won't feel so basic as simply counting everyone in the country. Persuading them to trust this new data, that's a task for biblical proportions. Yeah. So, yes, there are criticisms of Stats NZ. Obviously, data breaches and stuff ain't good, and making sure our privacy is protected, that sort of thing is great. I'm skeptical that just cherry picking data from things like Health NZ and other places you can get data, like, I don't know, I guess NZTA would be another one, are going to be accurate. And like, yeah, I don't know. I also don't know if I want my general health data scrapped and nationally. I don't know. A lot of concerns there. But the census is still really important to do, and I think we need to do it the correct way, which is everyone does the same questionnaire. We get a roundup of what we want to know about the nation, and then that data, like the 1850, what was it, the number of sheep and cattle?
Yes.
Like, we wouldn't have that data if we didn't do the census. So it may seem, and that's the thing, like, it's data on top of data on top of data. You look at it over time, and you start to see those patterns, and you start to ask questions, and then it informs your policy if you actually listen to data. And you're not anti-evidence, as this government is. Yeah, I think it's important. We got to do it.
Well, I mean,
even if it costs us money.
Why would they want the census to be around when the census data shows us how fucking badly they're doing? I mean, one of the comments here says it's like when Trump cancelled finding out COVID numbers because otherwise they'd go up. I am not surprised at all that they wanted to get rid of something that A, they weren't going to use anyway, but that B, Chloe Swarbrick could come in and go, hey, fuck you, here's all this data, because we know that they don't like when she does that. I mean, there's also, I'm also kind of like, are they really going to be able to pull from all of these different systems that, like, let's be honest, is going to create a lot more back-end fucking work for people? Because now they're going to have some people who are trying to chase down all these different places, get access to all these different things. I mean, as it is, a lot of people will find they'll move from one district health board to another, and in that fucking data and information gets lost. Like, it's already a mess in terms of that. But then I just don't believe that they're going to be able to create just as accurate profiles as they would as if they, and because that's then the second part of it that I don't like, is this is taking our tino rangatiratanga away from us in terms of filling out a census. We get to control how that's written down, what we put in it, what words we choose, rather than necessarily, hoping that all of that information is going to be able to be scrapped together. Also, I like Kelly Mann says, I may have changed from Jedi to Whovian, you know, like I'm pretty sure, you know, a lot of people would like to be able to put that information there themselves rather than have the government say, oh, we'll just do it for you. I also like this comment here that says, who needs a census when everyone's moving overseas? As I'm sure we heard Craig Rennie talking about how someone leaves New Zealand every 7 seconds or something crazy like that. I also know we actually looked at some of the numbers on Saturday night, even just based on like Infometrics. Actually, I'll share the Infometrics page so people can see a really pretty data. But
data.
It's also depressing data that shows how badly the government's doing. Got GDP down by 1.1%. There's also really good data here that shows that getting rid of the clean car discount has absolutely gutted EV market, minus 62.4% in EV registrations. And here, this one was quite alarming. So this NEET rate, it's gone up by 12.9%. And what that is the percentage of people aged 15 to 24 not in employment or training, which also, and now like obviously includes those, 18 and 19-year-olds who are no longer being moved into MSD the same way. So that's going to affect a much higher rate of those people because we've just got a lot more young people who are unemployed and not in any kind of training scheme, which also te puking has been absolutely fucked over at the moment, which means those young people can try to go into those, but they're already struggling. You see job seeker support recipients have gone up, unemployment rate gone up, house values have gone down, affordability for houses has gone down, first home loan purchases have gone down by quite a lot, and yeah, it's not great numbers. So I'm not surprised they're trying to get rid of more numbers that are going to be able to show how bad they're doing. That's tangible evidence of how terrible they are doing.
Yeah, and less evidence that that I guess agencies or people that are doing like the regulatory statements, what are they called? Are they regulatory statements? That back up whether or not the policy that they're putting forward is good or bad.
Yeah.
Impact statements. That's what I'm thinking.
Yes. Yes.
They've got less of that data that they can look at and say, they're showing it here, and like this could impact this and this. If they have less of that, or I guess less accurate data, then it gets easier to sort of go, oh, well, is it correct data? Or, yeah, I don't know.
It's definitely not what we want to see.
No, it's not. It's just another thing that is so just... Why? Why? Other than money. There is literally no reason to do it other than money.
But that's the thing, it's not even other than money, because they could have made other choices. The money was there. They just chose not to put it into this. And we know why. It's because they're trying to weaken everything that can prove stuff against them, and then also just fucking weaken everything so we can privatize it. Like... It's just another blatant attack. And just what I find like crazy is like I was talking to a friend of mine who they've just come over here from overseas, you know, they're quite new to the country, and they were saying just how surprised they are at how like different all of this like is handled and how we do things here. And I'm just, yeah, it's crazy having to just go through all of this all the time and just then be like, nah, we have to just cut some things. I mean, there's been so many articles recently about Oh, what is it? Oh, I saw even an RNZ article about how RNZ might be having to cut staff members because of changes to funding. Like, which, man, having to report on your own potential job loss is so cooked.
Yeah. Cutting the fourth estate, the media, which we also blast for its poor reporting at times, or its biased reporting. But you need a strong media presence to be able to criticize and look into. And there's some fantastic journalists that work at RNZ.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Mihi Narangi Forbes. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Yay!
Yeah.
She's RNZ funded. At least the David Seymour piece was.
Yeah,
so
Mata
you can
they
imagine
get
what-
funded for
Mata, yep.
documentaries a year.
Yes,
Yeah.
plus their interviews that they do weekly.
Yeah, I
believe.
think that's the
Yeah.
other thing. No, yeah.
So like,
And I mean, RNZ
yeah,
have the better articles. Like I find it hard with New Zealand Herald. I have so little
don't
trust with New Zealand Herald.
and it's paywall too. So like, I can't use any of their stories pretty much ever. And also they're riddled with bias a little bit, but it's also kind of nice to get data articles from around the spectrum. But honestly, it's just RNZ's free, and it's not paywall, so it's easy to put up on screen and read. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, that's it.
More
That's
memes
all
then?
from me. Meme it up.
Meme it up. I feel like this is a good way to go on. The horrors are never ending, yet I remain silly. We'll do
And
a
we're
few
up to
of
the
these.
community memes.
Yeah, actually, maybe we'll quickly leave these because I realize we haven't done any of our little positive things yet, have we? We probably
No,
should get to
well,
that
while you
before we
do
run out
that,
of
I'm
time.
gonna read through these super
Yes,
chats real
read through
quickly.
those.
Vanda says, "Hi Fano, sorry I'm late again. Oh, 9:32. That's pretty bad, mate. Pretty bad." Mr. Harvard says, "Take away the pub, make it a therapy room."
Honestly, I agree with that.
They probably need it. I Mossy for $20. We're getting some big super chats today, guys. Thank you so much. Aloha and Koha for M's and Mags. We had this discussion last time. We were trying to figure it was.
Surely it's Mags. Yeah.
No, I remember we talked about it and I was like, is it Mags? Or something?
No.
No, it wasn't.
Like,
It
it's not like the
definitely
word vagina, all right? You gotta go.
No, it's the yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
No badge, no match.
No match there. MBHN fam. Thank you for the $20 too. Jordan Rivers memes keep me sane. Highly recommend.
Actually,
Yes.
we've got one coming. Fano. Don't worry.
Kai Matada says, on Chippy, my article is based on Annette Schenker Osario. Her company helped Jacinda win in under 7 weeks in 2017. And she says to be radical, not milk toast. I love that. I'll have to give that a good read this weekend. Thank you. It's in the ballot for $10. Says cancel culture is a form of boycott and has been happening for years. Montgomery bus boycott, for example. But when cancelling goes too far is when you cancel it. When the canceller does the same thing they cancelled you for. Yes, I think that's kind of where I was getting at with cancel culture is that it got to a point where it was nitpicky and it was no longer justified. The justice or the punishment far outweighed the crime, I think was the issue. It was the silly mistake you made 10 years ago and you put out on Twitter because you thought you're edgy and cool, and today you would apologize for and say that I'm a different person, and you would show that through your actions. And then obviously there were people that didn't show that through their actions and they continued to be deplatformed. That made sense. But like when you're talking about things like rape and sexual assault and predatory behavior, like these are criminal activities that deserved the deplatforming that those people got, or the cancellation. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Criticism
Louis
that they got.
C.K. just deserved no longer being around anymore. He wasn't
Yeah.
that funny, and now we know he was fucking creep.
Yeah. But that is a very different thing to tweeting out the N-word 10 when you were 16-year-old and you're now 36. Like I think that's where the issues were.
I mean,
for sure.
Every edgy teenager says it at least once, or at least they did when I was a kid. Hopefully not anymore. Hopefully they've got a lot more information now. But, oh boy,
even things like I bet you if you went back and looked at some very old tweets, I don't even know if I have Twitter profile. That I probably used the R word because it was kind of like,
dude, yeah.
It was basically just another slang word for stupid or bad. Yeah. And now I was like, that's not a word.
Oh yeah, no, I don't say that anymore. But I definitely use that word.
But I'm not going to be like, Magenta, get the fuck off the show. Like, how dare you say that 10 years ago?
Right?
20 years ago.
As a teenager. Hey, how old are you trying to make me there, bitch?
No, I keep saying 10, and then I'm like, shit, do I need to start moving that to 15?
Like 15. I need to start moving 15 is fair.
I need
20,
to start saying
that's
15.
A bit far.
Yeah, no, we're not quite there yet, thank God.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Fuck.
There are differences there.
Kind of 8. I'm gonna cancel you for that. There we go. Cancel button.
I'm not good at math.
You're being cancelled because you're bad at math. Honestly, I'd get cancelled too.
What's your positive story?
All right. There is, actually a mini story. It's more just something positive I saw. But just a little bit of positivity from So yeah.
Whole raft of emotions. One, very excited. Another one, sense of pride. I'm very proud to have just the notion of a Pacifica uniform introduced here at ASB, and just to see it come to fruition from just an idea to where we are today. It makes me very happy.
Which, can I just already say, like, these new uniforms are fucking so good, like fresh as fuck.
Feel now 6 years on, you're wearing this uniform?
Proud, very proud. I think that's what we've been advocating for as a Pacifica committee. So this is what we want for our people to be comfortable in their own skin, and bringing their whole self to work each day. And I think we've achieved that.
And I just thought that was just a nice little thing to see, that they get to, wear clothing that feels comfortable and reflects how they feel. We love an affirming outfit, whether it's gender, whether it's your cultural identity. I just thought that was just a nice little heartwarming one. And then we have one news story from RNZ about this teenager who is going to bike 894 kilometers to promote Māori wards, which is insane. But it's not even just that, is that this is the second half of his two-parter. So basically, he walked 40 kilometers from Whakatane to Papa. He was supposed to walk to the Arataki Community Centre at Bayfair area in the Mount, but he did, after being kind of forced to say, dude, you got to stop walking, because now I will show it very quickly, because I think that the bro's hard work deserves it. But trigger care warning, there's going to be a nasty foot injury I'm about to show you. But this young 15-year-old walked and got that, which was quite horrible. And now I'm taking it off, because we don't need to stare at that for too long. And everybody else who didn't want to see that can look back at the screen now. But yeah, this 15-year-old has gone out there and has been trying to champion for Māori wards, and now he's taken his hikoi, and now he's gonna go and cycle Whakatane to Wellington. And he is hoping to, I believe, come into Parliament. Oh yeah, so he's departing 28th of June, so in 8 days, and he's riding a bike. Whatever this means about bikes, I don't know, but for 11 days. So he's going to take 11 days, and he's aiming to hand because he's going to be going through 12 small towns to collect letters from those who are in favour of Māori wards, and he hopes to hand them to the Prime Minister when he gets here. Obviously, the Māori Wards Amendment Bill passed its third reading in July, which meant 42 councils who had established a Māori ward without polling residents had to hold one or scrap them. And Jack is Kaitahu, Kati Mamoi, Waitaha, e Rapuwai. And so, yeah, it's just awesome to see him getting out there. And I also just, you know me, when it comes to young people who are politically engaged like this, I'm just always so impressed.
Yeah.
And also, biking that far, whew, bro's gonna have calves of steel. Like,
very much so. Very much.
But yeah, and then we just got a couple of video memes.
Video memes. Ooh,
Yeah,
well, the world,
Jordan Rivers, you know, he always hooks it up with the memes. So for those of you who don't look at his memes regularly, you'll be seeing this for the first time.
Is that his?
Fuck off! Fuck off! Fuck off! Fuck the fucking off! Fuck off! Fuck off! Fuck off! Fuck off! Fuck the fucking off!
It's just so good.
Is that a meme or is that literally for that?
No, yeah, I mean, Jordan makes, dude, Jordan pops out.
What's the original of that?
Oh, do you not know that lady?
No, I don't.
Oh,
that's what I was asking.
Oh, okay. So, Guy Williams, New Zealand Today.
Oh yeah, I probably didn't see that one.
She's this. Basically, she rung up and made this really aggressive. Her name's Kieran, and she like rings up. She's like, "Where's my fucking $20?" And it's like this whole.
Kieran.
It's a hot. Yeah, no. Oh yeah, yeah. No,
Oh
it's
my
like this.
God.
Dude, guys, I'll have to teach Ems the law later. I'll have to give you the New Zealand Today law rundowns. But yeah, that's actually a real woman. She is an icon. But that edit just.
It's a perfect edit. Yep.
Right?
I need it every week.
I thought. And this one actually isn't. I mean, I guess you could count it as a meme. But I also thought, since old Pat's been on his real journey, I thought I'd show everyone a great place to go if you would like to kind of just tune up some of your real, because this awesome TikTok page that I found, they basically do scenes from Harry Potter in Māori. So these are scenes that you're likely very familiar with already. Oh, did I? Here's my sound.
Yeah, unmute it. Yep. That old kettle fish.
Nā kōnā ka āhei tō whakarau I te kingi.
Kau, rāna kahore, he aha. Ko ia e tuku hei raupanga. Ko re rawa, me mate tētahi huarahi anō.
Yeah, you kind of get it, but it's so good. And I feel like, for people who probably grew up either watching Harry Potter as a kid, or, for parents whose kids were watching Harry Potter, it's just a good little way to make it funny and just kind of also familiarize yourself with the sound of the all being spoken, because that's usually where the hardest part comes in, is trying to learn how to hear it in other things. And then I guess the last little thing I've got is just the last memes.
The community memes. Memes.
This one was so good. Firearms. That's going to be my new thing. Fund public healthcare, fund private companies to profit from providing the same thing. You know, just a little shot fired. Oh, well, I was going to go into this, but we'll go into it next time. It's very late. I thought you'd like this one. Buzzword lightweight. This is a good one. And I decided to make this one after I saw the Chloe head on desk. So I was just frantically making this before the show. So I gave myself Creator of the Week. I'm allowed to.
Nice.
And obviously you guys can, I'll chuck this in the Discord so we can all rate which Chloe we are. And then there was some hilarious comments when the Ruth Richardson stuff was being watched. And my favorite comment was, she's a phoenix, but with shit instead of fire. Because I just thought that was one of the most beautiful images I could like ever be said. So good. Also, we got a... This was made by Kai Matata. Thank you very much. I thought people might like to see see that artwork.
Love it.
For all the emos, I'm just a man, not afraid to work this world alone, not a hero, not a Kayla. Which one are you?
D.
No,
only because I can't think of the other three songs of this. It's not coming to mind.
The emojis of the 90s. Which I think they were accurate. I always loved those pins.
I never really got to use them.
I don't know. Single beaver caused mass internet service outages in northern British Columbia. I failed to see how his relationship status is of any relevance. I do not serve cunt. I am cunt servant.
That's pretty good.
People will swim in the sea full of corpses but won't go near a pool with one. Everyone has an acceptable corpse to water ratio, and I hope you all think of that the next time you are swimming in the ocean. That's it. That's the meme.
Solid.
Yeah.
Got me thinking. Got me many a thinking. Oh, it's been a good show. We managed to make it 2 minutes to 11. That's right on time.
I mean, we were a minute late, so, you know, it's actually 3 minutes.
That's true. Yeah, there you go. It's not nearly as bad as we all thought.
Mm-hmm.
But thanks for watching tonight. Oh, before we do that, last of the super chats was Kai Matata with if we can't criticise our leaders in Labour, our leaders never get better, and we get people like Roger Dalglish and Richard Prebble in Labour in the 80s. Very much so. Make a submission to the RSB, y'all. Tell your whānau too. Due on the 23rd. Midday 23rd. So make sure you go and do that this weekend if you've got a bit of time. Don't leave it to the last minute because you will crash your servers. Although, no, don't crash your servers. But it will be not intentional. But
and if they do crash, just remember to like take a screenshot. You can probably email them. Like, there will be ways to get around it. So,
send it to your local MP, that sort of thing. So do be doing that. Do be doing that this weekend. Otherwise, enjoy. Hope you enjoy your matariki.
Yes.
Doing fun stuff, maybe. I'm going to the Christchurch thing tomorrow. I think it's the market, food market, and there was a light show the last one I went to, but that was in Victoria Square, and I couldn't find anything about it. So we'll find out, I guess. But I'm going to go enjoy the festivities, and hopefully the weather's good. So
yes, and I will be hanging out online again tomorrow night because during winter I spend the whole weekend basically. So if you guys have nothing else to do tomorrow, 7 p.m, come hang out with me and Rogers over at Aotearoa tonight because we have a really fancy new intro video that Rogers made us. So it's going to be like the first proper video, not the test video. So, and yes, buy hoodies so you can get a free t-shirt. Go now, get it.
Go do it. Do it. Do the thing. Do the thing. Otherwise, that's it from us. We will play out the intro and wish you a good time.
Help us settle a debate, whether it be thoughtful or funny, even if we're all creatures of hate. It's a fine line that we're walking together. For better, push aside the temptation to berate. Let's take a note of the corners we stand in. As many points as the hairs on my chinny chin chin. When the news that we're watching is hairy, knowing all the things that we need to be wary of. Like the rich have the hand out for rewards, while the many have to work out what they can afford. And the rest of us ain't paying attention, or maybe have questions we're too worried to mention. Other media is still dwelling on trivial facts, vetting bees from the rice and the mice from the rats, and picking and choosing a warpath to run, linking ourselves with the hill to die on. It's gotta come down to a welcoming vibe, with an A and a self and a higher in mind. All heavily, neither this way or that, and will be analyzed by what Chewie and Pat. With the evil in the world trying to mess with your head, and you're sitting on the couch, you're thinking chivalry's dead. Each night, 2 nights, they're gonna sing you to bed. It's Big Hairy News.
Oh, thanks guys for tuning in on this Friday night. I hope you enjoyed the discussions. Thank you for all the chats and all your discussions in the chats. It's always nice to see the community getting on board. And yeah, we all learned something new today. Any last words, Magenta?
Yes, I forgot. Wellington, Monday, Jack Hackett's Irish Pub, 4:30 p.m. We're having a meetup because Rygen is coming up to Wellington. So if you want to come hang out with us, come down to Jack Hackett's Irish Pub, 4:30 p.m. on Monday.
Exciting. Otherwise, the boys will be back with you on Monday at 9 p.m. And we will be back with you next Friday at 9 p.m. for more bright hairy news and some big hairy news. But thanks everyone. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, keep cool to after school, fam.
Jenny.